Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And it's good to see you all here today. So, in recent weeks, we've been discussing an 18th century text by the Indian Buddhist philosopher and practitioner, Shantideva. The chapter we'll be discussing today is entitled Vigilant Introspection, Chapter 5, entitled Vigilant Introspection.
Will, I'm
Yes,
s- I'm sorry to interrupt it, Sharon. There's something odd with your sound. I don't know if anyone else is hearing it. There's like a tick, 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 tick. I I don't know if you have it.
does that fix it?
I'm
Does that
sorry.
does that fix it now?
I'll speak again.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that improves things now.
I'm still hearing something, but it may just be me. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, okay, that's quite all right, Sharon. Um, yeah, if anyone else notices anything, please let me know and I'll do what I can. My voice is altered today because of I've got a respiratory infection, but I don't think that would account for the tick, tick, tick. Um, so the this chapter, Vigilant Introspection, um, it's also translated as guarding awareness, and the Sanskrit word that is translated into introspection or awareness is samprajanya, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But I think I would like to start by just reading this section at the very beginning. Those who wish to keep the trainings must, with perfect self-possession, guard their minds. Without this guard upon the mind, the training cannot be preserved. Wandering where it will, the elephant of mind will bring us down to torment in the hell of unrelenting pain. No worldly beast, however wild and crazed, could bring upon us such calamities. If, with mindfulness's rope, the elephant of mind is tethered all around, our fears will come to nothing. Every virtue deep will drop into our hands. Tigers, lions, elephants, and bears, snakes, and every hostile foe, those who guard the prisoners in hell, ghosts and ghouls, and every evil wraith, by simply binding of this mind alone, all these things are likewise bound. By simple taming of this mind alone, all these things are likewise tamed. For all anxiety and fear and pain in boundless quantity, their source and wellspring is the mind itself, as he who spoke the truth declared, he referring to the historical Buddha. So a couple things about that. The two words introspection and mindfulness, uh, as translated, are used alternately or together throughout this chapter as reinforcing one another. And they're similar in some ways, but different in other ways. Both of them don't lend themselves to, I think, just a pure one-to-one translation into English. So translators have struggled with them. So introspection, as I mentioned, is the translation for the Sanskrit word samprajanya, which literally, as I understand it, could be more accurately translated as complete comprehension. Sometimes it's translated as awareness. Whereas the word that is translated into mindfulness from the Sanskrit is shmrti, S-M-R-T-I, Sanskrit word Latinized, shmrti. And shmrti is actually taken from the more primitive root of shmur, S-M-R, which is also the origin of our word, our English word, remember or memory. So it has to do with remembering, keeping in mind. Oftentimes, of course, mindfulness has been used in various ways, especially recently, as the word has become popularized. And it most frequently in our culture is characterized as being the quality of being aware of the present moment, which is potentially a problematic concept because, by the time the present moment reaches our awareness, it's already a past moment. So in some ways, we're always just remembering. But the word shmrti also refers to remembering the teachings, remembering what we have learned about reality through our study, remembering what the Buddha taught, or, as is often said, keeping the Buddha in mind. So really, both of these aspects, the aspect of introspection or self-reflection, and the aspect of keeping in mind what is important, are part of this global concept that is addressed in this chapter. In a way, remembering what you're trying to do and assessing rather through self-reflection, whether what you're contemplating doing or presently doing or have done in the past is consistent with what you are trying to do. So this notion of self-reflection is, of course, it's not something that Shantideva made up himself. It is a part of the very early Buddhist teachings. And actually, as I remember from one of Peggy's comments last week, she really anticipated this when she was talking about being aware of her mental state as she goes through the day and contemplates what she needs to do or is going to do. In the very earliest recorded teachings of the Buddha, actually the very first verses of the Dhammapada, is written, mind is the forerunner of all actions. All deeds are led by mind, created by mind. If one speaks or acts with a corrupt mind, suffering follows, as the wheel follows the hoof of an ox pulling a cart. Mind is the forerunner of all actions. All deeds are led by mind, created by mind. If one speaks or acts with a peaceful mind, happiness follows as surely as one's shadow. So at the very beginning, talking about the primacy of awareness of mind. And then in a somewhat later Buddhist teaching of the Buddha, in a sutta that was recorded as the Buddha was talking to Rahula, his son. His son, when he came of age, decided to become a monastic and followed his father. And his father is giving instructions in this way. Whenever you want to do bodily harm, you should reflect, whenever you want to do bodily action, you should reflect on it. The bodily action I want to do, would it lead to self-affliction, to the affliction of others, or to both? Would it be an unskillful bodily action with painful consequences, painful results? If on reflection you know that it would lead to self-affliction, to the affliction of others, or to both, it would be an unskillful bodily action with painful consequences, painful results. Then any bodily action of that sort is absolutely unfit for you to do. But if on reflection you know that it would not cause affliction, it would be a skillful bodily action with pleasant consequences, pleasant results, then any bodily action of that sort is fit for you to do. And he goes on in this sutta and talks, after discussing bodily action, discusses verbal action and mental action, and goes on discussing this self-reflection before an act is done, while it's being done, and afterward. The notion of self-reflection, I think, is often not emphasized very much in our culture. I remember an instance in medical school when I was taking a psych rotation in my third year. And the resident who was going around with us, making rounds, as they say, teaching rounds and trying to give instruction along the way, mentioned something that I've always remembered, in part because it was such a unique thing for him to say. He said that when you walk into a room, when you approach someone, pay attention to how that person makes you feel. How that person makes you feel. And didn't elaborate on it, but some people, there's a pleasant kind of feeling as you approach someone. Other people, an unpleasant feeling, or neutral, or various characteristics. Some people may make you fearful, or in any case, how does that person make you feel? And he said, this is valuable information. Use it. It's actually the only time during my medical training when anyone talked about self-reflection, which actually I think is a very important part of the practice of medicine, or any practice for that matter. So Shantideva goes on. Oh, I wanted to mention a couple other things. No, I think we'll proceed. Shantideva goes on. If transcendent giving is to dissipate the poverty of beings, in what way, since the poor are always with us, have former Buddhas practiced it? Transcendent giving, so the teachings say, consists in the intention to bestow on every being all that one owns, together with the fruits of such gift. It is indeed a matter of the mind itself. So, some people might be concerned about that. Just having a mental intention to give what is needed to someone doesn't really help them unless they receive something, one might think. But I think the emphasis here is on maintaining that intention and what is appropriate to give or how it is given can follow from that. But the primary act is that of self-reflection and remembering one's intentions, one's aspirations, one's vow, if you will. Where could beings, fishes, and the rest be placed to keep them safe from being killed? Deciding to refrain from every harmful act is said to be transcendent discipline. Harmful beings are everywhere, like space itself. Impossible it is that all should be suppressed. But let this angry mind alone be overthrown, and it is as though all foes have been subdued. To cover all the earth with sheets of leather, where could such amounts of skin be found? But with the leather soles of just my shoes, it is as though I cover all the earth. And thus the outer course of things I myself cannot restrain. But let me just restrain my mind, and what is left to be restrained. So this seems so relevant to me, even though written 1,300 years ago. Harmful beings are everywhere, like space itself. We hear about harmful beings day and night, through the news, through other means. Impossible it is that all should be suppressed. So I think, at least so far, Shantideva's prediction is correct, that it hasn't proven possible to suppress all harmful beings. And I think he would say it never will be. But again, he goes back to the primacy of starting with one's mind, starting here instead of there, which is, again, a little bit against the grain. It's a little bit of a radical approach in our culture to put primacy on self-reflection upon remembering one's aspirations each time an action is considered, instead of going directly to trying to fix everything out there. A little later on, Shantideva says, "My property, my honor, all can freely go. My body and my livelihood as well. Even other virtues may decline, but never will I let my mind regress. All you who would protect your minds, maintain your mindfulness and introspection, guard them both at cost of life and limb. I join my hands, beseeching you." In this little section, when he says, maintain your mindfulness and introspection, that is a translation of mindfulness and introspection, or a translation of smriti and samaprajanya, those two words together. The Buddha and the Bodhisattvas both possess unclouded vision, seeing everything. This little section is in quotes, by the way. The Buddha and the Bodhisattvas both possess unclouded vision, seeing everything, all lies open to their gaze. And likewise, I am always in their presence. One who has such thoughts as these will gain devotion and a sense of fear and shame. For such a one, the memory of Buddha rises frequently before the mind. So here Shantideva is not attributing omniscience to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but he's saying if you keep them in mind, it is as if they were present, working with you, observing you as you try to deal with the issues that arise in your life, as you try to take care of your life, and keeping this vision in mind, this thought in mind, is a device to help you keep the Buddha in mind. So I think I'll stop there. We got about halfway through this chapter. It's a rich chapter, I think. And this emphasis on self-reflection, on introspection, on keeping your aspirations in mind, I guess I would be interested in thoughts about, well, does this stifle any kind of action in the world? I mean, is this kind of a solipsistic approach? Does this stifle or does it aid effective action? Thank you very much for listening today. And we'll stop there with and go into breakout rooms. I wanted to mention a couple announcements before we do that. Next week, Dayavati, Jennifer Adam, who is here today, hello, Daya, will be talking with us about living a vow-centered life, which I think is exactly aligned with Shantideva's message here. So I really look forward to hearing that. I was going to be out of town next week, and that's why she graciously agreed to do this. But I canceled my trip due to this respiratory illness. So she again graciously agreed to go ahead because I really want to hear what she has to say. So that will be next week. And a week from tomorrow, on Sunday between 9 and 12 at Guangshan or Fo Guangshang temple in Bridgeton, which is a Chinese Buddhist temple. They will be celebrating Vesak Day, and this is something sponsored by the Buddhist Council. It's an annual celebration. There's meditation talks and chanting and the opportunity to meet other Buddhist practitioners. And also there is a vegetarian lunch to follow. So that we'll be sending out a announcement about that to the list. So you'll receive more details. And that is next week, tomorrow. So we'll go into breakout rooms. Thank you very much again for being here. And I'll see you in a few minutes.